Welcome to the March 18th, 2025 City Council meeting, 6:30 in the City Council chamber. We'll start with the prayer. Dear God, today's the session opens. We pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction, which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, independent, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Young.
Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Council Chow.
Here.
Council Dakota.
Here.
Council Gitchia.
Here.
Council Janess. Council Mercier.
Here.
Council Noon.
Here.
Council Robinson.
Here.
Mayor Rourke.
Here.
Council Scott.
Here.
10 present.
Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber for Jeannie L. Osborne. Jeannie was a fixture in the Greater Lowell community for over 20 years, serving as the president and CEO of the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce for 10 years. She volunteered and served as a member on various boards of directors of the Greater Lowell area, including the Workforce Investment Board, Lowell Telecommunications, Big Brother, Big Sister, the Revolving Museum, Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council, the Megan House Foundation, Rape Crisis Center, and many more. She was an incorporator at Lowell General Hospital and the Greater Lowell Boys and Girls Club. She also served as the president of the Lowell Rotary Club and believed in their motto of service above self, where she would annually ring the bell for the Salvation Army. Jeannie received an associate's degree from Castle Junior College and her bachelor's and master's of business administration degrees from Rivier University, where she also sat on their alumni board of directors for 6 years. She is survived by her life partner and soulmate, Stephen Sirota, whom was her constant companion for over 20 years. Also, she is survived by her beautiful children, Christopher Osborne and Brent Osborne, and her 3 loving grandchildren, Michael, Matthew, and Addison Osborne, with whom were the loves of her life. She leaves her most cherished nephew, Sean Provost. Jeannie will be remembered as a generous and great contributor who never said no to anyone in need. Remembering her roots as a Lowell girl, she enjoyed traveling back to Lowell from a home in Florida to meet up with her good friends. We offer our condolences to the family, relatives, and many friends. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber for Arthur Tingis, a lifelong resident of Lowell, beloved son of the late Socrates and Vasiliki Kiki Tingis. Arthur grew up in Lowell and received his education in both Lowell and Andover. From an early age, he found his passion in the family business, the Olympia Restaurant, a cherished staple in the city. As co-owner alongside his cousin Costas Kokalis, Arthur dedicated his life to upholding the legacy his father built, ensuring that the Olympia remained a welcoming place where generations of customers gathered for good food and great company. He poured his heart into the restaurant, treating patrons like families, and taking immense pride in serving the Lowell community. Arthur's warmth, generosity, and devotion to his work left a lasting impact on all who knew him. Whether greeting customers, sharing stories, or ensuring that every detail in the restaurant was just right, he made the Olympia more than just a place to eat. It was a home away from home for many. He is survived by his cousin Costas Kokalis, his siblings Stefanos Tingis, his sister Nancy, many aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, and friends. We offer our condolences to his family, relatives, and many friends, and to his customers of all. And I'd like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber to all those who passed away since our last City Council meeting. May they all rest in peace. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any others? I do have one from up here for George W. Merritt Sr. George W. Merritt Sr. passed away peacefully on Tuesday evening, March 11, 2025, from natural causes at his home in Wells, Maine, surrounded by the family he loved so dearly. He was the beloved husband of 64 years to Martha McHale Merritt of Wells, Maine. Born in Lowell, Mass., June 3, 1935, son of the late William A. and Teresa Merritt, he attended St. Margaret's School and then Keith Academy, both in Lowell. He graduated from Burdeck College in Boston, Mass., before entering the U.S. Navy in 1955. George proudly served his country aboard the aircraft carrier USS Antietam CVS-36, both in the United States and abroad. George held the position of superintendent of both St. Patrick's Cemetery in Lowell, Massachusetts, and St. Mary's Cemetery in Tewksbury, Mass., and it was his life's work. He touched countless people with his compassion, generosity, and infectious sense of humor. Following his retirement, George and Martha relocated permanently to the southern coast of Maine, where they enjoyed joyous holidays and endless summers by the beach, surrounded by the love and the laughter of family and friends. George is survived by his wife, Martha, and their 4 children. His daughters, Ellen Nixon and her husband, Eric of Wells, Kate Torrey and her husband, David of Amherst, Massachusetts, and Paula Adams and her husband, William of Ludlow, Mass., and his son, George W. Merritt Jr., and his wife, Monica of Kennebunk, Maine. George is also survived by his sister, Margaret Lucraft of Lowell, Mass., as well as nieces, nephews, and cherished friends. Mr. Clerk, please stock of the chamber. May they all rest in peace. Two, Mayor's Business 2.1, communication for remote Zoom participation. The motion to accept the place on file by Councilor Gitche, second by Councilor Dakota. All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion passes. We are very fortunate enough to have 2 great members of the Lowell community. We're here to honor both of them. We'll start off first by honoring Amelia Martinez. In recognition of her outstanding achievements during Lowell High School's 2024 wrestling campaign, we proudly honor Amelia for the unmatched dedication and perseverance she has shown this season. With an undefeated record of 23-0, Amelia has etched her name in history as a Division I state champion, an all-state champion, a New England champion, and earning her a well-deserved title of MVC Girl Wrestler of the Year. Her remarkable career thus far is highlighted by 2 Division I state titles, 2 All-State titles, a New England title, 2 MVC All-Conference selections, which stands as a testament to her commitment towards the sport of wrestling. Under the guidance of Coach Nick Logan, Amelia has exemplified excellence both on and off the mat, inspiring her teammates, community, and the next generation of athletes. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Daniel P. Rourke, on behalf of the entire City Council, and maybe somebody's grandfather or something, I'm not sure, and the residents of Lowell hereby congratulate Amelia Martinez for her extraordinary achievements this season and career thus far, given his 18th day of March 2025. Congratulations. I'll go to Councilor Dakota first. Councilor, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think pretty well summed up, and she's only a junior, so watch out MVC next year in New England's. But I believe her sophomore year, she actually went to the finals in New England, lost. She had an injury, but I think one thing should be said, she also was wrestling at a weight that was 50 pounds over her weight class, her actual weight, which is a testament. I'm not going to say her weight, so she'll come over and hit me. So, but she was wrestling in the 235 weight bracket, and which was way, way over. So she, well deserved. She's a great kid, and she's my goddaughter. You get to say something now.
Oh. I want to thank my family, especially my grandfather, my biggest supporters. His name is Gary Morrison. Without him, I don't think I would even have the confidence to come up here and say anything at all. The people in my life constantly inspiring me. My mom and my dad who gave up and sacrificed almost everything to get me where I am now. My brothers and sisters who sacrificed time with them so that my parents could be there and support me every step along the way. My mentors, my coach Logan and Coach Owen, Coach Bossy, who endlessly poured hours of technique and confidence and drilled everything that I know about the sport into my brain, gave me the skills that I needed to accomplish everything that I've done. My teammates, a special thanks to Amada Mendel, who was a sister to me through all of this, supporting me in and out of the wrestling season.
Awesome. Congratulations again. Oh, good shit. You guys look. Roll the picture. Come on, roll the picture.
Know him too? They know this guy.
I worked with Gary at Belmont Springs Water Company for 10 years. That's how we knew him. That's how I got him hooked up with.
Amelia, huh? I did not know that. Yeah. He's in Drake, right?
Yeah.
You can see him earlier with Secret from Lowell. It's a good match to watch.
I was watching it on a small little phone and I couldn't see, but you said she rolled her.
We're also here this evening to honor one more member of the Lowell community that has done incredible things. Ladies and gentlemen, Sherry Laffey Saruf. Sherry? We're here tonight in recognition of her outstanding contributions to health, wellness, philanthropy. We proudly honor Sherry, owner of SLS Fitness and Dragonfly Cafe. Through her whole body wellness approach, Sherry has transformed the fitness landscape in the Merrimack Valley and the Lowell community through the empowerment of individuals of all ages to achieve healthier and more balanced lives. Beyond her dedication to fitness, Sherry would become the visionary founder of Fitness for a Cure, an annual fundraiser benefiting ALSAC/St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, held in Lowell each year. Since its inception, this remarkable event has raised outstanding $9.3 million to support life-saving research and patient care at St. Jude. What began in 1999 as a modest $5,000 event has flourished into a $607,000 annual fundraiser, powered by the dedicated committee of over 100 volunteers and a St. Jude Performance Fitness team of more than 120 children and adults from the Merrimack Valley and Lowell community. Becoming a tireless champion for St. Jude, Sherry would travel across New England, inspiring schools, businesses, and organizations with her heartfelt message of hope and perseverance. Sherry's extraordinary impact throughout New England has earned her prestigious recognition, including the Boston Celtics Heroes Among Us Award in 2019, recognizing her for 22 years of fundraising, and in 2023, when her and her children, Stephen and Elizabeth, were rewarded with the Volunteer Group of the Year Award for their continuous support towards the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Now therefore, I, Mayor Daniel P. Rourke, on behalf of the entire City Council and residents of Lowell, hereby congratulate Sherry for her unwavering dedication towards the community and whose leadership continues to inspire and uplift countless lives within New England, given this 18th day of March 2025. Congratulations, Sherry.
Thank you. This is an honor. I'm just overwhelmed with pride to have my family here with me, who was my inspiration why I first started the event. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I had a high-risk pregnancy. I was bedridden, and as everyone knows me here, I'm a very active person. So to be bedridden with a baby was a lot of anxiety and worrying if the baby was going to be okay. And I thought, I really want to do something for families and kids and any parent that goes through something like this. I just had a lot of empathy for them. So I thought, well, I have a gym and everyone listens to me. Why not start a fitness fundraiser? And I wanted to raise awareness about St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Since it was in Memphis, I felt that the Merrimack Valley didn't know the miraculous things that St. Jude was doing. And this was way back when I was pregnant with Elizabeth, so you can imagine she's 26 years old right now. Sorry, I'm nervous. So 26 years ago when I started this, I didn't really know the whole St. Jude mission. I knew it was something that I wanted to dedicate my time to and in honor of my children being so healthy, never knowing what it would turn into with hundreds and hundreds of kids coming in every weekend and practicing. I volunteer, my kids volunteer. We all volunteer our time to teach kids fitness and keep them off the streets and healthy. And we also teach them philanthropic. Every week we talk to them about St. Jude and giving back, and we teach them that they're born to serve others. So from kids from first grade all the way up through college and beyond, we're sending the message, another voice in their life, teaching them about how to be philanthropic, how to give back, and how to have fun using fitness and music as a way to give back. Raising $9.4 million, we are one of the largest fundraisers for all of St. Jude. We're known as a powerhouse right here in Lowell. I'm very proud of Lowell. I was born and raised in Lowell. My mom's here tonight. She's from Lowell. My mom and dad met at the Hi Hat Rollaway. So we're Lowellians. Me and my children all went to UMass Lowell. And now I have two businesses in Lowell with them. So we're very proud of Lowell, and I'm proud that St. Jude looks at us as one of the top fundraisers for them. I feel that there's no other stronger community that I could have done this with than in Lowell. I feel that people are very special here. We give back. We have grit. We want to do bigger and better. We never give up. And I feel that that's right here. So I'm proud of this, but we should get this honor together, because without all of you and without this village that we have here in the Merrimack Valley, I couldn't have reached this goal. So I'm proud of us. The show is this Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday,
So
that's right.
if you all could come, there's two shows. There's a day show and a night show. Day show's at 11:30 for families and kids at the Lowell Auditorium. We've already sold 400 tickets. At night, we turn it over into a gala. It's at 5:30, cocktails, live auction. We have patient family speaking. We have St. Jude representatives coming in from the hospital. And then we do a show with all these kids, put on a fitness show. And that's Saturday night. So if anybody would like to go, please, I'll give you a ticket. I'll get you in there to get to see what we're doing. I'd love to, open it up to all of you. We've raised $600,000 without Saturday night yet. $600,000. And we haven't even gotten to Saturday. So we're looking at, I'm hoping to get to $1 million this year. I don't know if I can do it, but $1 million in a year, I'm going to try. Thank you.
Congratulations. Come on up. All right. Section 3, City Clerk, 3.1, minutes of the Nonprofit Organization Subcommittee, March 11th. City Council regular meeting, March 11th, for acceptance. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Chow. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Not being 7 o'clock yet, we'll skip to the motions. 5.1, Councilor Yam and Councilor Scott request city manager have the appropriate department develop and implement a beautification program for the Gallagher Terminal through downtown. No second needed.
Mr. Mayor, I have a guest speaker that he may not register. Mr. Clerk, if I could make a motion for Kendrick Dal to speak, Mr. Mayor.
By Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Scott. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes.
I saw him a second ago, probably left.
Well, why don't you speak, and if he comes back in, we'll let him go.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. This motion is the second time that I filed the motion because of the concern of the citizen brought up about the Lord overpass, the new street that we spend so much money, and then the last time, this is February 6, 2024. I filed the motion, and also the same issue, the Councillor Gitchie filed a similar motion back on September 23rd, asking for a maintenance plan for the Lord overpass. So the issue is that we were told last time that there will the company who planned the plan will have 2 years to maintain it, but the whole year last year it was not well maintained. Nothing being done. So this year we afraid that it's going to be neglected and no one really take care of the beautiful corridor that was developed lately. So I'm asking the city manager if you could maybe give us an update of what the plan is, because the last time you mentioned that the company who planned the plans will maintain it for the next 2 years, and after that will be passed on to our park department. My motion on February 6th, I also tried to see if the city would allow residents to adopt that island. So this way, they will help maintain it, and our park department will be oversee in addition. So we create that partnership with residents who would like to maintain and make it beautiful, because it's a gateway to our city off the Low Connector. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Scott.
Thank you. I would just echo the sentiments. I know Councilor Gitchie had brought up as well that it hasn't been that well maintained coming into the city. It is the gateway. I'd actually extend that and say also the islands near Central Street as well. Same situation. I don't know if the Adopt a Island program is still active, if we need to revisit and see whether or not they're still maintaining the islands. All the groups still want to be involved in that, or they don't. So that's all. It's just, like you said, it's a gateway and it should be welcoming. Thank you.
Councilor Gitchie.
Thank you, Mayor O'Rourke. Through you to the manager. In that contract, there was money left over for maintenance. Is that money still there?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. I'll have to get you the report on that and find out how much money is left on that, but I know we have been working towards a plan on this, so I'll have that in the next few weeks.
And you know I've been a proponent of this for a while, and just the same thing with the line painting. We saw Westwood Street, they started doing the crosswalks. They look amazing. Everything pops well. If we can get that in the spring, it just brings that, here we are in Lowell, and it brings a vibrance to the city that a lot of places do it first thing. We've talked about that for so long. If we can get the long lines and everything done in the spring, it would just pop really well.
Mr. Manager, go.
Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. In regards to that, that's a discussion we had today, and what you're seeing plopping is what we decided to do. We're doing a third of the city in epoxy as opposed to painting. So within a 3-year time frame, this being year 2, the 2/3 will be done. Next year, 3/3, and we'll go back. So the epoxy, as opposed to just painting, we thought it was a waste of money, because every single year we had to do it. But the epoxy seems to be lasting. Right now we're on year 2, and that's what I think people are noticing with the popping of those streets. So we're hoping that that's going to be something that will continue for the remainder. However, this is from the Gallagher Terminal area, the beautification piece. This is something that's definitely on our radar screen, and I hope to have something back to you within the next few weeks.
Thank you. I just truly believe that no matter how new your car is, if it's dirty, no one really looks at it as the piece that it is and how well it runs. And I think that's the city too. If it looks that way, you sell something. So I do think that this piece is extremely important. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.2, Councilors Yem and Scott. Request city manager to have the appropriate department expand the hanging of hometown hero banners along the new Thorndike Street corridor. No second needed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like to say the motion speak for itself, but I just want to add on the every year now the hometown hero banners had been expanded, and then we only hang it around the JFK Plaza. And I thought maybe the Thorndike corridor, the new one, as people come off the Lowell connector toward the City Hall, this would be send a really strong message that the City of Lowell is really support of our veterans who have sacrificed their lives to serve our country and defend our liberty. So similar to the Berica, if you go to the downtown Berica near the City Hall, you see they hang the hometown hero banners along that corridor, and I'd like to see that happen, Mr. Manager. I appreciate that, and I'm sure the veteran and their family appreciate that as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just commend my colleague for coming up with the idea of the Hometown Heroes banner, and I think it would be great if we can expand it so that more people can see them. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.3, Councilor Scott. Request city manager provide update on the status of the anticipated timeline of opening the Lotus House Women's Shelter. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Scott.
Thank you. I think the motion really speaks for itself. I'm just trying to find out what the status is. We haven't heard much about the opening. I don't know if it's in the near future, if it's coming, so I'll just wait for the response. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.4, Councilor Scott. Request city manager direct the appropriate department to explore the feasibility of establishing a year-round outdoor marketplace in Lowell, including potential locations and costs.
Second.
Second by Councilor Yem. Councilor Scott.
You like that one? So many of us went to Toronto for the Front Runner program, and we were able to visit the Toronto outdoor market. I know our assistant city manager Baez was excited about the prospect of it and how vibrant the city was in the area. I had the pleasure after that to go to London to visit my daughter and see Burroughs Market and Norwich Market and Portobello Market. There's markets all over the place. And I think what's great about them is that there were a lot of small businesses. And I think with Mill Number 5 closing, I think this is the type of small space maybe that, would be affordable, that could kind of be an incubator space for maybe more businesses moving into permanent spaces. So I don't know if we can do it. I know in London, a lot of them are run by charitable trusts. Some of them are publicly owned. I don't know what the cost would be, but I'd like us to explore it. Thank you.
Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a great motion by Councilor Scott, what I'm certainly in favor of. We all know we recently had Winterfest. We all know what these events, Folk Festival, what they do for the downtown businesses. It is basically Christmas in July for the businesses. When large events take place. I think it worked out well in the middle Palmer Street area of downtown where many of these it's ground zero for downtown. Many of these business flourished for events like this. So I think this would fit that bill. So I think that'd be a great area. Mr. Manager, please do your due diligence, see what you think it might be feasible. But I'd like to see our downtown, something like this incorporated in the downtown with weekend street closings and the like. I think that'd be a great thing. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do love the concept. Great motion by Councilor Scott. Like I said, if it's not every weekend, but picking out weekends here and there every month type of thing. You're talking summer festivals, Winterfest, just a continuation of the city. And I'm sure the business would thrive at this. So, good motion. Thank you.
Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love the idea so much because Councillor Robinson and I, when we were in Montreal, there's an indoor market and there's also a farmer's market where all the local farmers come together and bring their produce year-round. And not just a market, it become a small restaurant who someone started out and serve food and then coffee shop. And it become really a great place. And we can use this as a place to teach incubator businesses who want to start a restaurant, and they can try that out. And this is really an excellent excellent motion, and we all root for it, and hopefully it become a reality. You know, that downtown area where Middlesex, Middle Street, and all of that, Palmer, that will be an awesome location. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Returning to the public hearings being 7 p.m. 4.1 in order, taking an acceptance of Delaware Avenue in order to take by eminent domain in a fee certain parcels of land in the city of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, the layout and acceptance of Delaware Avenue and other municipal purposes associated therewithin. We'll start the meeting with all those speaking in favor. In favor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Brian Leahy on behalf of Bob Howard, the former owner of Heritage. Very briefly, 2 years ago, Heritage was sold on an expedited basis, and during the process, turned out there was an encroachment of the building, probably the size of this binder. And in working with the law department and the engineers on how to deal with it, turns out that Delaware Ave was never formally accepted. Dunbar was, Magnolia was. It looks like a street, acts like a street, but was never formally accepted. And we're here today to get this resolved and then deal with the encroachment issue.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else speak in favor? In favor, in favor. A portion of the hearing is closed. Those in opposition? Opposition, opposition. That portion of the hearing is closed. The motion to adopt by Councilor Getchia, seconded by Councilor Yem. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Counsel Young.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Chow.
Yes.
Counsel Dakota.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Janess. Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
10 years.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Marcia.
did I hear right? Will they be coming back for another vote for the encroachment? Is that going to happen?
I believe so, at some point.
At some point? Okay, so there's another vote, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
You think so?
I can't speak for the manager of the city, but...
If it comes up, we'll bring it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Turning to the motions, 5.5, Council Belanger, request city manager provide an updated timeline for installation of a wastewater tank at the Colley Stadium parking lot, seconded by Councilor Dakota. Councilor Belanger.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just looking to, for the administration to provide the most accurate timelines that we can at this juncture. My constituents are inquiring. We know we got a large undertaking going. It's going to take place at Colley Stadium, an overflow tank, which will give those folks on Douglas, Westwood a lot of relief. It's a lot of good happening here, but it's also going to come with some disturbance. And the sooner I can give my constituents the heads up that it's coming, and the neighborhoods will be better prepared for it. So looking forward, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.6, Councilor Robinson, request city manager of the proper department provide a detailed in-depth report of tree planting replacement at the reservoir, seconded by Councilor Yem. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. This is basically on the heels of, as we're well aware, the development is happening. The apple orchard is completely cleared. There's a lot of concern in that neighborhood about heat island and the loss of trees. So any replanting of trees that we can manage to get in at the reservoir that makes sense and don't pose a hazard or a risk, I'd strongly encourage. It's what a change in scenery. I'm sure you've seen yourself driving by the apple orchard. So again, I know the reservoir is completely separate. This is something that's necessary to be addressed, and I urge any tree that we can plant back in there and then some, please. I'd like to see that report. Thank you.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.7, Councilor Robinson, request city manager of the proper department explore improving Gage Field, including the addition of irrigation, seconded by Councilor Getchia. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. We've discussed this in the past a few times. Heavy usage field, and I do believe, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, I do believe that we've received some earmarked funds from the state for Gage, specifically over the past couple of years, to the tune of close to like 50,000. And so if that is the case, I mean, maybe that this is one of the things that we look at to see, is it doable? Just, and I'm only looking at the athletic soccer field. I'm not looking to irrigate the entire piece of land.
Vice Rose?
You're correct, Counselor. We do. I just got an email this week on another earmark for Gage specifically. So we had gotten one for $25,000 previously, and just got another one for $25,000. We still need to send the state the contract documents and execute that, but we should be able to. Move forward with a project around $50,000 at that location. The earmarks were both specifically for Gage Field.
Thank you very much. So, I mean, the two of the things that I'm hearing from the neighborhood, one is as we mentioned before, putting a harder surface, kind of similar to Highland Park on the volleyball courts, as well as looking at what can we do to improve the grass in the playing field at the soccer field portion of Gage. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.8, Council Robinson. Request city manager of the Property Department provide an update on the status of the DPW cemetery garage improvements. Second by Council Mercia. Council Robinson.
Thank you. I brought this forward quite some time ago. I was told that there were plans in the works to update the working garage. Mind you, our DPW cemetery department is maybe 2 or 3 employees year-round. They don't skip a beat. They provide burials and services to our residents year-round with minimal resources. And so I think the least we can do is provide them a decent work environment. So I know this is something that's been in the works for quite some time. I'm not sure where we stand on it, and I look forward to hearing this response. Thank you.
Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also had a concern because I heard complaints. There are times when there's funerals and at the gravesite, and sometimes people have to use the bathroom facility, and when they go there, it's disgraceful. So if we could do something about improving the bathroom facility there, it's rather embarrassing. It's one thing when our employees don't complain about it, but it's embarrassing to have a family there and the kid has to use the bathroom, and I went there just to see if this complaint was real, and yes, it was real.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Moving on to section 6, motion responses. A, 2025 election. So I don't have the council that filed the motion, so if it's yours, just please speak up. Councilor Robinson, good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was one of them. I think it's a great opportunity, and if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the manager, if we can have Mr. Rosenberry maybe come up and present. Thank you.
Director?
Well, thank you, Councilor. So I don't have much to present, but my motion response here, I am asking for the council here. We are asking the office as well as the commissioners for a September 9th preliminary for you folks to exercise your authority under Chapter 54, Section 103P, which empowers you to change the date of the preliminary. I think September 9th is a good day to hold it on. Alternative date would be the day after Labor Day, September 2nd, which has its own challenges of scheduling. We have difficulty scheduling poll workers. A lot of people who sign up to be poll workers discovered that it's the holiday weekend. If they don't have kids, they might leave town. We did have the state primary, of course, the day after Labor Day, and we did experience that. I think it'd also be a kind of a cost saving to the city, just having to avoid having to come in on a Monday holiday and pay my staff extra to be working that day. Give kids the chance to settle into school. Traditionally we get the Friday before Labor Day, no school. Tuesday, no school again, returning Wednesday. And also for what it's worth, just for publicity standpoint, Boston has scheduled their preliminary for the 9th of September as well. I think it's a good day. So if, looks like there's going to be a mayor's race in Boston, Election Day will be on the news for September 9th. So I think it's smart so that we don't have to get the calls. Where's our ballots, Will? Well, it was last week. So that would be my recommendation there on the preliminary date specifically.
All set, Councilor?
Thank you. I know on your motion response, there are a couple concerns. So I don't know if it would be better served to refer this to a subcommittee, try to hash out. I know there was questions around locations, polling locations, as well as there's a mention of the design of the new Lowell High School not being ideal with the electricity situation.
Yeah, unfortunately, so, with the new high school using it in September and November, my understanding prior to my arrival is they used the old CAF for the March primary. So using the new CAF, although it is a big, beautiful space, unfortunately, as soon as we got in there, we realized that there's just insufficient outlets. And so anybody who visited the Lowell High polling location on any election day may have noticed that the precincts, I think there are 4 precincts there, were spread out through all that area so that we could access plugs. And you know, it can cause a hazard to have extension cords running all over a polling location. There are other places in that neighborhood. As I indicated in the motion, it does have to be in an adjacent precinct. There are other locations that we could consider, even within Lowell High, if there is a different room that we could get into to survey and take a look at the outlet situation and accessibility, perhaps another portion of Lowell High School. Historically in this neighborhood, I know that the Songus Arena has been used, I believe, as a polling location, if not an early voting location. The Masonic Lodge here has been a polling place as well. I don't know that the Freshman Academy has been used as a polling location. I know there's a big room, although just walking around the exterior of the building, I'd be concerned about accessibility to that building. And then the other place I'd have to look more closely at a map, but another spot we're curious about is the Armand Mercier Center. I guess it switches to Salem Street at that point. They are just other locations to consider, and it is just an unfortunate case. It's a beautiful space. It looks like it would work, but just the outlets aren't provided for in the Lowell High CAF as it is right now. So, you know, there is time to kind of table that debate, that decision. We can designate a polling place as late as 20 days prior to an election. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd like to do it a little earlier. There will be a mailing that would be conducted to the affected households, notifying them of any polling place change. I want to continue to explore other options, and this is really the first time I've stated any of these possible other locations for that polling location. So again, historically, I know that the Songus Arena has been used for the polling place, as has the Masonic Center, and I think there are some other spaces that we could examine.
So do you want to go to a subcommittee?
Thank you. Can I refer this to maybe, what is it, Election and Laws Subcommittee?
By Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Noon. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosenberg.
Councilor Belanger and Councilor Getchia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the election director. Will, thanks for coming in tonight and the very detailed report. I'm definitely pleased with your choice of Tuesday, September 9th. I think, like last year's state representative race, having the Tuesday after Labor Day, far too hectic. I never understood that, so I think you made a great call bumping that up a Tuesday. So with that being said, you know, in 2023, we experienced, I think it was the lowest voter turnout in the city's history. You know, and this district representation showed a change that. There's a lot of unopposed racists, and that's what happens. But, you know, we need to do everything we can, everything in our power to get voter turnout. That being said, what I'd like you to request is you work with the proper department in a communications plan, getting the word out, trying to get the vote out to the best of our ability. Well, you know, I heard from a constituent today, and I thought it was a great concern. So I think that'll be considered, and that's something we can bring up at the subcommittee meeting too. I'm glad Councilor Robinson kicked it to the subcommittee, but I'll probably bring it up then. But just a heads up, Maury.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Councilor, I have opened a dialogue, and I'm continuing to have a dialogue with Case about putting together something to, you know, increase turnout and get information out about the election, and working with some of the nonpartisan groups here, advocacy groups here in the city, such as Common Cause. So we've begun that dialogue to try and boost turnout here in the city of Lowell.
Excellent. You read my mind. Thanks again coming in, Will, and I'll be bringing it up at the subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You got it. Councilor Getchia.
Thank you, Mayor O'Rourke. Thank you for the excellent report. On the senior center piece, I would ask that we move it back to the senior center. And I'll tell you a story about the city council. When we had the senior subcommittee here for the senior center here, we barely got anybody, if anybody. Councilor Mercier and myself and Councilor Dakota have decided to take that on the road. And whenever we have a subcommittee down there, the room's packed. And, you know, when the voters are right there, I know it's inconvenient. A lot of our jobs have inconveniences to them. And I just think it's the benefit of the voters to get that down there. So I would ask that you would highly consider just pushing that back to.
Yeah, so the early voting locations are not ultimately my decision. The early voting locations will be set as part of that election commission recommendation, as well as your vote. Okay, now having said that, and I have no horse in the Lowell Senior Center or City Hall race. My understanding when I came on the job is that the Lowell Senior Center presented particular challenges to the seniors, becoming very disruptive to their physical. They have like a physical exercise program, as well as the meals. And that is my understanding. And speaking with Aurora and Kim over there, that is their contention as well. And my concern is that one of these motions is asking us to have it as a permanent location going forward. In a presidential election years, that's 28 days cumulatively over the course of a year that does disrupt senior center activities. Lowell City Hall presents its challenges as well. Accessibility, one elevator to the second floor, God forbid that thing goes down. That we do not have an accessible early vote location. We also have the issue of the 150-foot rule. We could not have candidates who might be on the ballot in an election within 150 feet of the entrance to the early voting location. So that could be problematic on Tuesday evenings if we're having elections here. And then the other extraordinary measures, of course, was the covering up of the portraits to enforce the 150-foot rule when incumbent councilors are on the ballot here. So, we will do whatever vote, and logistically speaking, we can absolutely logistically transmitting ballots to and from the senior center. It can be done. It's like a polling place, and it will be done if that is the will of the council and the election commission. Just want people to be cautious of the impact of the senior center. I did speak with Aurora and Kimberly today over there, and they are concerned about it being just long-term disruptive to senior center activities. Now, having said that, when we set this early voting schedule for this city election this year, okay, we are not subject to the same requirements of time that we were with state elections, which we are mandated for a state primary to do 7 consecutive days, 8 hours each Saturday and Sunday based upon our population. We can tailor the dates and times within a certain time frame of a 14-day period, but we could do a day at the senior center. We could open up a school on a weekend and perhaps offer early voting on a Saturday in the neighborhoods. So what I would suggest is that today, as part of this discussion, perhaps we can go ahead and set a preliminary date. Okay, number one, I'm getting lots of inquiries. I've got to deal with campaign finance deadlines that dovetail back from that as far as filing reporting. We could definitely continue. Councilor Robinson had suggested sending it to a subcommittee, the issue of the Lowell High polling place. I think that's great. I think that's something that needs to be examined and carefully thought out. And I think we could also table this discussion of our early voting schedule. There is, it appears to be an appetite to have in-person early voting here among the council, as well as that seems to be the general consensus of the Election Commission, that they will recommend that we do opt-in to in-person. And we can talk about the location or locations more.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the proposed calendar with the preliminary schedule for September 9th,
By Councilor Gitche,
2025.
by Councilor Robinson. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes.
One other question. There's one motion that wasn't answered in here, was putting the mail-in ballot applications in with the July and October tax bills to increase the voter participation. Is that a major issue to do for you?
So I can't say I apologize, I might have missed that motion. My understanding of the tax bill, however, is that it's where we can't include anything else in a tax bill. However, what one alternative is, and I think the manager made reference to this at a previous meeting, the census mailing would be an annual mailing where many cities and towns, Worcester, for example, has had success in including with that mailing an opportunity for the voters in that household to request a mail-in ballot. We've called it the roster application. Next year, with an enhanced census mailing, that's absolutely something that I would consider including in there. And alternatively, if there were money appropriated, we're happy to do a vote-by-mail application substantially the same as the state did. And I think there was one in the 2021 municipal election here. The city of Boston is mandated to do an annual vote-by-mail application by their own ordinance or law for their municipal elections. But other municipalities have had some success with, not the tax bill, because I don't think you can include anything else in that, but with the census mailing, including it in that.
Could you check into that? Because we do have other things that go in those with the tax
Sure.
bills. There are
Yeah.
other notices that go in.
Okay, and I could be misunderstanding something that I heard from a previous
It
meeting.
might be water stuff that's in
During COVID, Council, we asked that question.
Yeah.
We told we couldn't put it in.
I,
so-
I can't remember.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna still talk about this? Council Noon? Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report, sir. So I do concur with a number of things you said in the report. I also have some question concerning, I mean, 2023 was the lowest voter turnout in the history of City of Lowell. This is not too long after the hybrid. I feel that, we have this conversation just year of the election. And the issue here, I think, for me, and I think for all of us here as well, that, the communication of voter education, as one put it in the email, that it's year long. Any communication that come out of the election office should be translated and should be available to the public. You can't say, well, this time we do that, the other time we're not going to. Every time any information come from the election office need to be translated so that the people at home, the voter, understand what that means. But also I'd like to see as well that we have to look at the drop ballot as well. I know that in the past we had it in the City Hall and the police station. I know that you agreed to explore other drop location as well, drop ballot location. Communications, not just in those major language, but also need to be, either be on your city website, election office, election department, social medias, and or any corresponding from the city, and have to work with, because I know there's a number of organizations doing their work, getting people out to vote, getting education to the people. We need to do a better job at it as a city. It's not only when year of the election, any other years that we need to do that. So I would, waiting to the subcommittee to have this meeting, so we have more discussion on this. I'm sure other public, other residents will come in and give their input as well on how we as a city can do better. Because, look, the only time a lot of residents have opportunity to make their voice heard is the election. So we need to do a better job at it.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, the voter education piece, you're absolutely right. I think that Mr. Rosenberry had mentioned earlier about Common Cause and the League of Women Voters. What we've been trying to do is meet with nonpartisan groups, typically statewide groups. Some other groups locally could be considered partisan, and we're trying to come up with different ideas throughout the year, and I think you're onto something. So we possibly could continue to go down that road. If anybody has any other further ideas, send them to us. But Common Cause has taken a major, Mr. Rosenberry, as Common Cause has taken a major interest. I think the League maybe not yet, but
Yeah, I've re-engaged with the Common Cause, and they're going to help me facilitate that. The executive director of Common Cause happens to be from Lowell, so he has a particular interest in helping us out, is what he said. So yeah, we're gonna be trying to partner with them. As far as Councilor, I think you were talking about language access there. One thing that my office is preparing this year is a candidate's guide, basically an instructional guide on how to run for office in the city of Lowell. I haven't seen anything comprehensive that's been written over the years. I was in touch with CMAA today to talk about getting that translated into Khmer, and we'll have it done into Spanish, the two languages which we're subject to under Section 203 of the Voting Rights Act. So I'm in touch with CMAA about translating that. Once I get this preliminary date set, we're going to move forward with moving that into translation so we can be having that available in multiple languages as well for candidates who might have limited English proficiency but want to run for office. We're also working currently with CMAA and internally to update our polling place signage to make sure that it is fully trilingual, to make sure that we're fully compliant with federal law here.
It's going to a subcommittee, right? Are we going to a subcommittee?
This is the ballot box going to subcommittee?
You better schedule a 4:30 because Mr. Rosenberry there talks for an hour and a half. All right, moving on. Motion response B, online census. I'm not sure who filed that one. Scott?
Thank you. This is an excellent response. My only question around it, I guess, is around the need for an outside vendor and why that is necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter, sorry, Counselor. Just a matter of our, the current content management system that we have for our website does not provide an in-house solution through that. MIS has investigated that, and then we do not have a developer on staff here. So this will require, basically the hiring or the paying of a vendor to develop this system. I've begun since I have filed this motion. We've been working with the finance team here. We've identified a funding source. So I've actually started working on basically the technical specifications of what will be required, and hopefully I'll be going out and seeking quotes on this service soon.
Okay, so that's going to be an appropriation within the IT department's budget? Is that how that would work, or is that?
Mr. Ball?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor, it's actually a portion of the free cash vote that you guys took about a month ago that was going to be used for census-related work. This is one of the items that the CFO and myself identified to use this funding source.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have about 10 questions and 10 comments also, but I will wait until subcommittee to bring it up. But I do have a question. Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg, for being here and for the informative answers. I'm on the Rules and Election Subcommittee, and I will schedule the meeting as soon as possible. But my question is, you mentioned earlier that you're still in the process of exploring polling location and so forth possibilities. I was wondering how long that will take you, because maybe we can wait until you get some of those polling locations in mind, so that when we have a subcommittee meeting, you have those information to be reported to the subcommittee and to the public. How long would that take you to
Sure. I mean, I'm ready to start calling, property managers as soon as tomorrow to explore the feasibility of using these locations.
Okay.
So I can, when does the subcommittee meet? I can have something for you in a few
that's
weeks?
good to know. It's not, I know
Yeah.
time frame that when you'll be ready, and then
Right.
we'll schedule it when the chamber is available. Thank you.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Rosenberry. Thank you. Great report. I agree with my colleague that September 9th preliminary. My question on the census that we sent out to homes, and I understand that if there are changes, they have to do in writing and then drop it off or mail it to the city. But for someone who does not have any changes, if we could, develop, and then you touch upon a bit on your motion response. The city of Cambridge has developed this system, and it really clearly stated, and then I like that, and I would make a motion that when we meet as a subcommittee, I would recommend that we recommend to the city manager to look into developing that census.
Yes, absolutely. Cambridge is one of the communities that I reached out to about their census. There's a handful of other communities I spoke to as well. So,
Okay. Motion response C, 1190 Pawtucket Boulevard. Councilor Mercer, that's you, correct?
Yes. I was glad to get the report. The report is stating that one of the most advantageous would be to the veterans. I don't know where that's going, but we are concerned about that piece of property. I don't know what the development is going to be about, but I know they're saying $1.4 million for the property.
Ms. Byers-Rose?
And
Thank you, Mayor. The 1.4 was an old appraisal, actually, at this point, so we'd probably have to get that updated before it goes out to RFP. We do anticipate trying to make the uses pretty flexible to allow for more ease on people responding. We've had some interest from veterans groups, a public boathouse, for example. And so I do think that there's an opportunity for a good project to be developed here. We will need to, the council will see in advance of the RFP going out, a vote coming before the group, the body, related to a zoning change that will allow for a little bit more flexibility for something like a veteran social club or something like that to be an allowed use. So I anticipate what we'll do is come forward with the zoning change before we put a full RFP out. The site is complicated, being that it's a waterfront property, so any developer will need to sort of anticipate that in their response, but all of those details will be included in the RFP.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Motion response D, CPA, Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. Thanks, Giovanni Byros, Assistant City Manager, for the report. I know that the CPCA 2025 project before the Joint Committee of Finance and Neighborhood, right, talking about the revenues and what some of the program that we're going to disperse that CPCA revenue or money to. So this is fitting because increasing the surcharge on this will add more revenue. If we were to do that, if the council were to do that, would certainly add more revenue to the CPA in terms of the, and then able to disperse it all around the projects, is whatever projects that the CPC, the committee appropriate that money. So it's fitting, I think, is that we, I would ask that send this to that joint committee so that in addition to discussion on CPCA 2025 project, they also have this discussion in place as well as to what we're going to do moving forward. Because if we were to do anything here, it's going to have to create, that committee going to have to meet and come back to the full council, and if you were to agree to, as a council, agree to increase, say, 5%, no, 0.5%, I mean, create, and then we have to create a ballot question, have to go to the voters and stuff. So before all that, I would ask, Mr. Mayor, that this gets sent to that joint subcommittee and to have the committee, as they discuss CPCA 2025 project, they can pick that up and discuss this as well.
By Councilor Noon, seconded by Councilor Scott, to send to a subcommittee. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Motion response E, commercial vacancy. Councilor Noon, is that yours as well?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Giovanni Byros, the assistant city managers, and I think Ali Carter's as well for prompt work on this. Is I know that the letter was sent out to, I see the list of 12 property that was sent out to. Can I ask a question as to, since the letter went out, I know you give them 30 days to respond. How many have, if I could have, Mr. Giovanni Byros, how many have responded so far?
Yeah, I'd like Ali Carter to answer, please.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Carter, so since the letter went out, how many respond to the letter?
6.
6 of them, okay. I'm not going to ask which one. How much time do they have in 30 days to respond to you? And what happened if they don't respond?
So for the folks who responded, it depends on the nature of the response. So
Right.
some we found they were actually compliant.
Right.
Most of the others requested a waiver.
Okay.
And at that point, we have 30 days to respond to their waiver requests. And we
Right.
responded to most of them, but that decision is made jointly by the building commissioner and the assistant city manager. Building commissioner's out this week, so we're just waiting for a couple of those in the queue. For the ones that haven't responded yet, since
Right.
this is relative, well, it's very new, we decided to give them one more letter that was a final reminder.
And that one more letter, how many days do you give them?
We haven't fully decided
Talk about that yet, right?
I could go with 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with regard to fine, I see in the letter, in your motion response, you indicated that if they not, respond to it, say in the second reminder or second letter to them, I just say fine is $100 per vacant unit per day. How do you enforce that? I say they not comply and they not respond, and so you said $100 per unit, and say you have 10 units and per day. How do we enforce that?
The same as any other code violation.
Okay.
So the building commissioner would handle that.
Okay.
And I do believe that it does go against their property as a lien, essentially.
So far, how hopeful are you that all of them are going to respond favorably?
I would like that as well.
All right. Thank you.
Councilor Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Ally, thanks for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. So I very much am for the idea of a vacant commercial bank, if you will. I think that works well. So the city is aware of any vacancies. But so as to a potential tenant or a small business looking to relocate to Lowell, is this something that's on, is there a list of vacant properties on the website, or is it per inquiry? Ally, so please explain how that works.
Sure, thank you. So we have a few different methods. We subscribe to a commercial real estate database called CoStar that tracks kind of the larger office properties. For the smaller mom and pop commercial districts, neighborhood business districts in downtown, we actually boots on the ground track that quarterly downtown and annually or as needed in every neighborhood business district. So we maintain detailed inventories and we respond.
Okay, so in other words, a vacant downtown, that would be in the inventory and somebody would have to inquire. Then you'd give them a list of vacant properties, more or less? Or?
Sure, yeah, people come ask us all the time. We have a form.
Yeah, okay.
Comes in on the website and
Yep.
yeah, based on their requirements.
Okay, I think as important to register as a vacant property, I think it's just as important to have it be accessible, these locations be accessible for inquiries as well. I think that's equally as important. I think you're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Councilor Young and Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through Ali, thank you for the report. And I know two properties on this. I'm not sure, am I allowed to mention the address, Mr. Solicitor, in my comment, because it listed on the, Mr. Mayor, see if I could ask the city solicitor, because I want to mention the two properties that listed here that in Ali report. So is that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure what you're asking me. You want to discuss the properties that are on the motion response?
In the report, Ali gave 12 properties.
Yes.
And I know of two property. And the question that I'm asking, am I allowed to say publicly the address of those two property?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, thank you. The waiver you're talking about, if a property owner send you a request for a waiver, is that a limitation, a certain criteria would allow or not allow? What I'm trying to get at, some property owner, when they get this, they may say, I don't want to deal with it, I'm going to put it on the market. Would that be a reasonable request for a waiver? That would be my request to you.
Sure, thank you. So yes, with this mailing of these letters are several documents, and one of them are waiver guidelines, which are sort of examples of the types of things that would be a favorable waiver request. And so the properties that are subject to this are places that haven't been on the market for rent at all. So if someone were to contact us and say, we're going to start marketing this for sale or for rent, we could give someone a waiver for additional time to do that. Sure.
Thank
Oh, excuse me, Councilor.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to the Council. Council, this is not meant to be punitive. It's meant to activate. We want to make sure that, and I can say this, I think, with some, we've had some landlords that have treated the city very poorly. And per this council, this ordinance is making that stop. And Ms. Carter, from where she had worked previously, had worked through this program. So once again, this may come across as punitive. By no means is it meant to be punitive. It's meant to get activity. And I can tell you that I was speaking with a few folks that Ms. Carter had talked to. It's ironic that she sent it out on February 14th. That was just it's just the day it happened. But we are actually getting people very interested in doing things. And that's the point of this. So if people were to come to us, because this isn't the only 12 that will be contacted, I'm sure, in the future, it is how much work this council, this city, this administration has been putting into trying to activate the first floor and the second floor. Quite frankly, we've had a string of folks who have not been kind to the city and have just ignored their property. And that's what this is geared towards. And I think that this is what the ordinance was in response to, and I think Ms. Carter is doing a fine job on that. And I can tell you, with a conversation I think I was on Monday, sorry, it already feels like a week has gone by, Monday morning at 9 a.m. There's activity now because these letters have gone out. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that the goal is to activate and not to be punitive.
Marcia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, Ally, thank you so much. This is important to me, and I know people have a hard time. I understand that. So is there anything in this city where a family is having a difficult time that they can pay in increments instead of paying the whole thing that they owe? Can they?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, really, can they do that?
Financial hardship is one of the basis for waiver request.
So, okay. Now, when you say that they received a letter of a notice, and then they requested to register that vacant property, and failure to do that is $100 per day. Okay, let's say that, because that's what you said. Some asked for a waiver. 6 of those 12 property owners asked for a waiver, did you say?
5. One was found to gotten compliance very quickly.
One of them what?
What became compliant very quickly.
Became compliant, so that lit a match, and that's good. That's a good thing. Did any of the 5 say that they wanted to redeem their property? They wanted to keep it. They wanted to make any financial payments to try to catch up to them. I don't mind if someone wants to sell their property, but if they owe money in the form of taxes, I would hope we could acquire what they owe the city. We would do that, right?
We research these before we send the letter out to see if there's any other issues, such as any other obligations the property owner has to the city. So that's not the case for any of these.
Oh, it isn't.
It's just long-term, no tenancy, no advertising. People call, they don't call back. So all the folks I've heard from have said, oh, I just need financing, I need help, or I got busy doing other things. So everyone we've heard from has been motivated to make some sort of improvement or investment.
Not only does the place become vacant, it becomes run down. It's an eyesore to the rest of the properties in the city that are trying to do the right thing. So I'm glad that this is there to rejuvenate and put a fire, so to speak, under their feet to get off their butt and do what they're supposed to do. So I commend you now. I commend you. Now, so I'm saying if we can help some families that are having a financial hard time, but this isn't the case. So I applaud your effort. I think it's time that you make a move. I know I've been a stickler for different properties that I see over the years. One was on Clark Road. I made a stink about it. It's beautiful today. It revitalized that street. There was another one on Andover Street. It's an entrance into the city. It's a gateway. And it was overrun, and we had the planning department, the DPW have to do the landscaping work to, that's our time for our men to do city work, not to do private work. I think we put a lien on whatever, but I see life coming into that property. So this is a good motion. This is a good report. So thank you for your efforts, Ally. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on, motion response F, capital plan, Valley School Gym. Councilor Getchia.
We need to see the mayor smile tonight, so motion speaks for itself.
Man. Killing me, Councilor. Motion response G, gazebo repairs. This should be a good one. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I look forward to seeing the repairs. Thank you.
All right, look at that. Motion response H, H91 Act to modernize funding community media programming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Sean Machado, for sending the letter to the state delegation, and I hope that the state delegation will work with their colleague to get this passed, because this certainly is going to help LTC and help us as a city to having, local access, for the city. Thank you.
6.2, information report, open space and recreation plan, Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Rose?
Ms. Rose.
Yeah. So I have Jess Wilson, who's going to be the project manager from DPD here. I'm wondering if Jess wouldn't mind just coming up really quick and talking through our plan for the coming year. The OSRP is a plan that we do every 5 to 7 years, and we are required to submit this and get this plan approved by the state in order to be eligible for state grants. This council approved capital funds to help support a portion of the work to bring a consultant on board, but the DPD staff is going to be taking on a significant role in supporting the work that will be happening in the coming year. And I'd love for Jess to tell us a little bit about the plans for community outreach, and included in the packet, you'll see some of the initial outreach material that Jess has created for this and that is available online.
Thank you, Giovanni. My name is Jess Wilson. I'm a design planner with the City of Lowell Department of Planning and Development. I mostly manage open space and parks projects, including the 8 ARPA projects that we're doing this summer, which will all showcase the wonderful outcomes of an open space and recreation plan. Selecting those projects for the ARPA funding throughout the city would not have been possible without a really strong OSRP in place. Our current plan expires in February 2026, so our goal is to have the updated plan completed by then. We included in this motion response some information about the maintenance plan that we completed last year with the grant as well, because that ties in to what we're doing with the open space and recreation plan. Maintenance is the number one thing that comes up when we do community engagement around parks and public spaces, of course. So we took that to heart. There were a couple of goals from our current OSRP that identified the need for doing a comprehensive study of available maintenance staff time and facilities, and creating a preventative maintenance master plan for all parks and open spaces across the city. So we completed those 2 actions last year with the City of Lowell Open Space Maintenance Plan, which was attached to this motion response. This plan includes several recommendations, not only to help improve and expand Parks Department staffing capacity, but also to lower the maintenance burden of our parks. So some of the top priority recommendations that came out of this plan are to track time and resources for crisis management, set internal priorities based on assessment information, add additional staffing to the Parks Department, and as I mentioned, transition underutilized spaces to less maintenance-intensive landscape types. So as part of the assessment plans, this maintenance plan, the consultant also created a assessment template, which currently is in the form of an Excel file, but we are taking that assessment template and creating a more user-friendly version of it, which will be on SurveyMonkey, and our plan is to, through the OSRP community engagement process, work with volunteers in the city of Lowell to help us collect data on all of our parks. And the assessment template has essentially a ranking system to give each park a score, and that's going to really help us prioritize the top needs and make sure that we're investing equitably in our open spaces throughout the city. We've come up with a very comprehensive engagement plan for this process. As Giovanni mentioned, we intend to do all of the community engagement in-house and hire a consultant to assist with plan writing and mapping. So our community engagement plan includes a digital engagement station, which has already been set up on the city's website, and a link is provided in the motion response. This digital engagement station is kind of a one-stop shop to learn about the OSRP, different ways to get involved, such as signing up for the OSRP email newsletter, which Case was incredibly helpful in helping me get that ready to launch in the next week or two. We will be adding a link to a deep dive survey very soon. This will be about a 15-minute survey for residents throughout the city to provide input on the parks and open spaces they want to see improved. There is a quick poll on the site now, so that's just a quick one-question survey that anyone can easily participate in. We will be posting information and details about volunteer opportunities, and then you can also download materials that we've created, such as the Open Space and Recreation Plan coloring book and Park Libs, which are some fun family-friendly activities. We have also created several different ways for folks to get in touch and reduce the barrier to participation and communication. So MIS helped us set up an email and a phone hotline, and residents can reach out in any language via either the email or phone hotline to leave a message for the planning team. There is also a calendar of events on the digital engagement station where we will post any upcoming in-person engagement events and opportunities. And finally, an engagement dashboard where we will report back the findings from the community in infographic form. And then we have set up a physical version of the digital engagement station, which we're calling the mobile engagement station. And our intent is to take this mobile engagement station on a tour throughout the city with at least 6 stops in various parks and neighborhoods. So this will include physical versions of all of the digital activities that we have, as well as informational boards, interactive boards, a participatory budgeting card game, and then physical copies of the survey, the coloring book, and Park Libs. Wherever we take the mobile engagement station, we also intend to facilitate park assessor training. So we will be training volunteers on how to use the assessment template. They will receive an illustrated guide as a reference, and once trained on how to use the template, residents will be able to collect data on their local parks on their own time and submit that to us to kind of assess and rank the top priority projects. And of course, stakeholder engagement will be an important part of the plan as well. So we will conduct a series of interviews and focus groups tailored towards specific topics such as maintenance, accessibility, athletics, trails, and conservation. We are also proposing a one-day stewardship summit to bring together all the key stakeholders throughout the city that maintain and care for our parks and public spaces. So this could include the Parks Department and DPW, nonprofits like the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust, state agencies such as the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation, National Park Service, and local organizations such as Lowell Litter Crew. This would be an event for training and knowledge sharing around current best practices for maintaining more resilient landscapes. And finally, none of this is worthwhile if folks don't know about it. So we've devised a number of strategies to help us get the word out. This includes placing yard signs in each of the city's parks to help advertise all these opportunities to get involved, giving out postcards at all the in-person events with a QR code and link to the digital engagement station, as well as how to get in touch via the email hotline or the phone hotline or the digital engagement station. We will be working with the city's communication team to share information via social media as well. And finally, as I mentioned, we worked with CASE to set up a newsletter specifically for this project so that residents can stay up to date on progress, upcoming events. And if that newsletter is successful, we also see that as something that could be continued beyond plan adoption as we implement the plan to provide updates on how that goes. And finally, to close the feedback loop, we'll have the engagement dashboard on the digital engagement station. We'll have the email newsletter as ways to report back what we hear from the community. And then as a requirement from the state, we also have to provide an opportunity for letters of review. So the draft plan will be posted online, and anyone will have an opportunity to provide comments or letters of support. And those comments will be addressed in a round of edits before going to the state for approval. After all of this is done, we would love to celebrate the final plan and the successes of the previous plan with an open space, open house. This could be an event that we celebrate at a recently completed project, such as the new stage and rain garden at South Common. I've attached a couple of documents to this motion response. One is a presentation, which is also posted on the digital engagement station. That's just sort of an intro to the OSRP, what the process is, what we're doing with engagement. And then the other attachment is the open space maintenance plan that we completed last year in close collaboration with the Parks Department. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Really well done. Thank you.
Thank
Councilor
you.
Robertson?
Thank you. First, I'd like to say, I personally see a lot that Ms. Wilson does in her advocacy towards parks, open space, thinking outside the box. And one thing I'd like to acknowledge, we're very lucky to have you. I love the forward thinking and the sustainable ideas that you're willing to bring to the table and how you look at spaces, how they're being utilized in other communities and what makes sense for us. So I applaud you on that. Thank you. It's encouraging to see the way that we're thinking about maintenance and coming up with a plan finally, because we know we've invested quite a bit, and that's something that I think for too long has gone overlooked. You know, add without any real plan forward on to maintain. So that's another thing I applaud your group and the administration for doing. It's just, I have a couple questions about this plan that was presented over the open space maintenance plan. First, how did we pick the sample locations? Out of the 8 locations?
Sure.
How were those selected?
That's a great question. So we did an inventory of our parks and which amenities each of those parks have. And we wanted to make sure we didn't have the budget with $50,000 to assess all of the 80 plus parks throughout the city, but we wanted to make sure that we were assessing all of the different park amenity types that we have throughout the city. So we selected parks that had a wide variety of amenities. So Clemente was included because it's one of the only parks with bocce courts. And so having that maintenance piece in there. So we made sure that we were hitting splash pads, playgrounds, the different types of courts and fields. And that while not every park has all of those features, that with those 7 combined, we were hitting the vast majority of open space amenities that we offer.
Okay, thank you. And some of the things I saw, though, it's kind of funny. Like, so with the rating system, I think it's a very thorough rating system, and I like that. I like because it forces people to take kind of a forensic look at the open space that we're examining. Hovey, there's not much mention of. I mean, we have a beautiful ADA compliant playground, and we have a severely eroded hill 5 feet away from that. There's not much mention, but yet the rating, and the rating doesn't really reflect that. North Common, I looked at that rating. That one got a 75% overall. Athletic fields, they had some safety concerns, which are understandable. But, I mean, mind you, we have people playing baseball in this field. There's a catch basin and tree roots in the infield. Part of the field in the fenced-in area. There's really not much mention of that either on this rating chart. Pruning, I have to disagree with the rating they gave for pruning, where they said, I think it's like 65% of the trees have been pruned or in decent condition. You can't even stand under most of the shade trees in our green spaces because they haven't been pruned in years. The lower canopy is pretty much dead, and you're risking injury with low-hanging branches. fencing, again, at North Common. I believe Councilor Gitchia brought that forward. There's a portion of fencing that juts out into the field, and that hasn't been corrected. And I'm going on 2 years' time now with the fabric. It was the fabric that was, and many backstops across the city are in tough shape with that. So I'm not sure who did these analyses to get an idea of where these stand, but I think we have to look at it. I see there's discussions in this about wood chips versus rubber. Years ago, we went the rubber way. I'd like to see the cost analysis because it is significantly pricier, I believe, to go with poured rubber. And then you're also introducing potential chemicals to a playground area because you have to keep using an epoxy to seal the rubber pieces. They break down and degrade from the sun. I mean, there's a million pieces that go into this. That's why I think we went with kind of the industry standard with the wood fiber that's supposedly washed and suitable for that kind of structure. I also see we talk about meadows and turning into, and I see that in a different community where I work. We do a lot of these open spaces that they kind of just let go to a meadow, mow once a year. They turn into butterfly gardens, and that's beautiful. I think perfect example would be maybe Robinson Hill. I think that's a perfect location that if we could get something like that going, it cuts back significantly on the maintenance required. They irrigate, no irrigation, fertilizer is pretty non-existent in the parks outside of, I believe, maybe Tyler, where Friends at Tyler Park, they implemented a organic, all-natural fertilization program on their own. But I mean, I just think you have a great template to start looking at our open space and really getting a thorough, detailed inventory of what they are, what work needs to happen, and then start formulating how do we get to that point. But I again, as I said at the beginning of this, I'm very encouraged to see we're finally starting to key in and dial in on a very important component, and that's the upkeep and maintenance that goes with this. So I thank you and applaud you for that. And I mean, this is so detailed. I would like to make a motion if possible, after my colleagues that have any other comments. Can we refer this to like a park subcommittee, please, so we could have a thorough conversation?
By Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Gitchia. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Councilor Gitchia.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. I think it's a great start. Could you tell us how we came up with which goals are in which order on page 9? Because you have 6 of them that are in order. Is that the goal order?
I don't believe they're intended to be taken in any particular order.
Okay, because when you look at it, the number one priority to anything we do in the city should be, how do we maintain it?
Mm-hmm.
That's over even the project piece, because we just seem to be putting up things that, and I'm not saying under your watch, but in the past it seems like we had a feel-good moment and we had it on like the Lord Overpass. We have all of this open space out there, but nobody takes care of it, so everything's dead. And everyone drives by and it's dead. And, we're looking at a lot of parks and everything, and you brought up that, the Parks Department wants more employees. Well, I want more employees. I think there should be, everybody in the city should be a city councilor. It just comes down to, we only have so much. And if we plan the proper way, we don't really need to have as much. And I saw that over in Centerville when you're doing the project over there, you're looking at long-term maintenance pieces. When we look at the tree piece, we're seeing contractors come in here and cut trees down at will, but our goal is to plant them in open space. See how they just conflict over each other. So everything you do is being offset by somebody who wants to build a house in, a forest and just clear cuts the whole thing. So I was just concerned that this was the lineup of the goals. We first want to, strengthen the pedestrian connection, and I think that's important. I think that's an important goal, and I think that's easily maintainable when we start looking at some of the bike paths that we can use off of the roadways. I think we talked about that, right?
Yeah, so I believe the goals that you're looking at right now are actually our current OSRP goals from our previous plan. So for the new plan, we are adopting the goals that were identified as part of the Lowell Forward Master Plan process. Those goals, I believe there are 7 of them identified, that those are going to become the overarching framework for the OSRP action plan, and we will, through this engagement process, be identifying very specific actions to advance those goals.
So who are your counterparts in setting up this whole goals and everything? Who actually has say in how these things are outlined and put together? Is it just DPD, or is it, obviously you're calling the Parks Department and some outside people, but is there like a board, or who does all this?
For the Lowell Forward goals?
Yeah, for these goals here.
So those were determined through a robust 18-month community engagement process that involved, I believe, 3 public listening sessions, many stakeholder and focus group, stakeholder interviews and focus groups, consultation with different agencies and nonprofits, and the consultant, UTL, ultimately compiled and assessed all of that information to determine the final goals.
The Lowell Forward plan hasn't been brought before us and I have big concerns about that. Everything is affordable housing, affordable this, affordable that. Well, it's called subsidies. Someone has to pay for it. And right now we're watching throughout the city, people who are paying for it are now hurting. So it's just a balance, and it was written a few years ago, so now it's trying to come back to us at least a year ago.
Yeah, I believe it was adopted last year.
Yeah, but we were at the senior center putting stickers on things like well over probably 2 years ago when we started doing that. It was before this council we were doing it. So I think some things are, and even in this plan, that we put together people because we're designing a certain outcome out of it. And I don't know that it's meeting the neighborhood's wishes and other people. So I guess that's a conversation when we get into the subcommittee. Thank you, Mayor Rourke.
Motion to accept and place on file by Council Dakota, seconded by Council Chow. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 6.3, communication, resignation of Joyce Dasto from Council of Aging. The motion to accept and place on file by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Noon. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 6.4, we have communication, reappointments to the Council on Aging. We have 5 of them. Maxine Farkas, Judith Huber, Malika Ting, Gilda James, and Frank Baskin. Need a motion to adopt by Council Noon, seconded by Council Yem. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Counsel Yem.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Chow.
Yes.
Counsel Dakota.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Janess. Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
10 yeas.
7, ordinance from the city manager. 7.1, ordinance to amend Chapter 290 floodplain overlay. First reading, the motion to refer to the planning board on April 24th, then to a public hearing on May 6th by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes.
Mayor Rourke, could I just ask that the solicitor just either highlight what the old one said versus the new one? Like, sometimes when we make changes to documents, they run a red line through the words that are being omitted. And can we have something like that? Because these things come through and I try to put them up against the old one, and sometimes you can find it, sometimes you can't. So could you just provide us with a copy that has it outlined, the exact changes? Thank you.
7.2 is the ordinance to amend the fee schedule, body art license. The motion to refer a public hearing on April 1st, 2025 by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Belanger. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 8, reports of the subcommittee. 8.1, nonprofit organization subcommittee, March 11th, 2025. Chairman Getchia.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Minutes of the nonprofit organization subcommittee held on March 11th, 2025 in the City Council chambers. Members present were Councilor Noon, Councilor Robinson, and Councilor Mercia. Also present were Councilor Belanger, Councilor Scott, Councilor Dakota, and Bridge Club Executive Director Bob Cox. Mr. Cox outlined the mission of the Bridge Club of Greater Lowell was a beacon of hope and support. The Bridge Club was established in 2018 during COVID, and the motto was influenced from the time Mr. Cox spent in recovery in Florida at the Crossroads Club in Delray Beach. The goal is to create a nurturing space for individuals in recovery, offering solace, community, and a path to wellness. While at Crossroads Club in Delray, Mr. Cox discovered it was a thriving community committed to rebuilding lives. Recognizing the profound impact of this model, Mr. Cox was determined to bring the spirit of support and transformation back to Lowell. Since opening at 33 East Merrimack Street in January of 2020, the Bridge Club has blossomed into a vibrant hub, hosting over 30 recovery meetings each week, has a staff of 14 employees, and sees 150 people daily, offering assistance with detox, rehab, placement in sober living environments, job training, job placement, such as Amazon and more. The Bridge Club's newest program is providing transitional housing for veterans, and they are currently searching for a building to begin the program. The Bridge Club is proud to support individuals in recovery and those reintegrating into society from incarceration, from them secure employment through their network of CORI-friendly employee partners. If you want to learn more or volunteer at the Bridge Club, they can be reached at 978-454-6191, or you can visit their website at info@bridgecluboflowell.org. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Gitsch, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 8.2, municipal facilities. Councilor, next week?
Next week, Mayor.
All right, sounds good. 8.3, wire inspector, National Grid, request installation of one SO pole on Hayes Avenue. Need a motion to adopt and accept the accompanying order by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Gitsch. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 9 petitions, 9.1, 1 personal injury, 6 property damage. Need a motion to refer to the law department for a report recommendation by Councilor Yam, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Do you want to speak on it, Councilor?
Well, usually when we have these property damage claims or of any sort, I don't really comment on them. We just refer them to the law department. But there's one in here that got me a little concerned because it said that a dumpster was being emptied by a dump truck, and it left the premises after it crashed into the side of the business. And I'm thinking to myself, do we have anybody in the city that works for the city that drives a dump truck that empties dumpsters? Because I don't know of anybody. So I'm wondering, why did this claim come for us for payment of damages when we don't even have any part of this?
Mr. Solicitor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councilor, this sort of thing does happen from time to time where, whether it's a business owner, someone who works at a business will mistakenly think that the city has done something like this. This is a situation where this was not the city who did that. It was just a private company emptying the dumpster. So
Thank you.
we would
thought.
send that back to them, just to be clear.
Okay. I don't want them to think because we're the city, we're going to pay for everything, because we're not. But thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 10 announcements. Any announcements this evening? No, motion to adjourn by Councilor Gitsch, seconded by Councilor Yem. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Good evening. What up?